I'm going to give you a quick market insight from luxury, of course a little bit with an automotive background, but more on luxury in general. And when we talk about luxury here in India, of course one of the things we learned this morning, demographics plays a very important role. Then I think also geographics, I think something you can absolutely not neglect when you talk about luxury. Then the development where we are today, certain criteria, growth impacts, and what could be obstacles or assessments. Now when we talk about demography and some numbers, I just put some numbers here. I mean, we all know the population, somewhere 1.2 billion people. We know that around about today, 30 million of all households live already in cities. Tendency will be more than 50% within the next 10 years, plus minus. Depends how expensive the consultant is you ask. 24, 25 years average age, so we have a huge demographic dividend, and I think this is where all branding will start. How do you catch the young guys? Because the young guys today are going to be your customers today, latest tomorrow, once they graduate from ISB, IIT, IIM or whatsoever, and they are ones who have probably the aspirations but also soon the means to buy. So of course the next number is what growth we see, and the growth numbers are different really by research institute. I think they're as good or as bad as general statistics are in India. You should not rely on them, but they give you a good indication. And if I talk about my industry, probably 1% of all cars today sold in India are luxury. So that's not a lot. If you compare that with US, where we are between 12 and 14%, and even China, we are already at 8% luxury. And our company this year sells more cars in China as Audi when we sell in our home market in Germany. So it tells you China, of course, is at the forefront of luxury development, but the question is when would India follow and at what speed? So if you look at that, I think the numbers is one thing. The other thing is the mass. For example, did you know that one of the highest numbers of Rolls-Royce are sold in Jalandhar? Or that you have very strong sales of Rolex watches in Ludhiana? Or our beautiful SUVs are sold in Surat in very high numbers? Or Chennai, or in Patna. So these are markets which, if you ask any of the CRISILs and other institutes of this world, they will not give you the numbers. Because the simple size, statistics, sample sizes will not be relevant for you to tap these markets. So besides listening to consultants, I think the easiest way is to go out and talk to your existing customers and scout where cash is, where people are flamboyant, where they are aspirational, and this is where luxury will grow at a fast pace. NCR region and Mumbai is given, that everybody knows, that's in any school book. But I think the future hunt is where the new rich are coming up and how do we tap these markets. So if you look at that, I think we talk about a market, and that's our analysis based also what Kodak says or some other institutes. The total market of affluent Indians, approximately 30 million, which you define as rich. So these 30 million, you can differentiate between the top of the pyramid, approximately 1 million people. If you look at the Forbes list, there are around about 8 to 9 Indians now on the global rich list of the richest people in the world. 1 million roundabout are super rich, luxury-oriented, old industrial families, inherited money, or people who are IPO'd their companies or whatsoever. But these 30 million are the ones, if any of us here on this table wants to market luxury, I think these are the people we look at in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, because this is where the demand will come from. Now what you see in India is a change. I worked for another brand in India 12 years ago. Actually, we should have met in Pune. I also lived in Pune. And at that time, you saw it was very much on the left-hand side. Status, conformity, old money, old traditions. The youngster couldn't buy a luxury car if the dad at least had 2 of them, and then he still had to have a smaller one. Today, you're much more extroverted. Young Indians are global Indians, through Facebook, through every media, all the education, they're connected to their global peers. So when they buy luxury, they don't only buy luxury because what they see here in India, but buy luxury because their friends from Harvard, from Wharton or whatsoever also buy these kind of brands. And they are live on BB Messenger or on Facebook and say, look, I bought my latest R8, is that already in India? And people say yes, and guess what, I'm buying one tomorrow. So there, the peer pressure is now global, so brands are becoming global and you have to market global. I brought you a small video, I hope it works. This a little bit humoristic and just gives you a little bit of a glimpse what we see about. Oh, sound doesn't come. Let's, can we get this tuned up? This is a spot I stole from my US colleagues, so don't mind. But when we talk about new luxury, we talk about people going out of these confined levels of luxury. It's not the Maharajas who had the Rolls Royces in the past. It's a youngster in Bangalore who IPO'd this company and said, I want to buy something different than my father. In Europe, and I think the guy from Tiffany will confirm, in Europe you have a lot of brands which get inherited. You're a second, third, fourth generation Rolex guy or Mercedes guy or whatever you inherit. And Patek Philippe even made a nice ad on that. You know, you don't own a Patek Philippe, you basically preserve it for your next generation. So in India it's still very much a branding market. If you look at the GQ magazine, probably 500 pages, the last issue, 70% branding. We all go there because we need to brand people. So we put ads there and hope people pick up the brand. But we see the strongest growth category you see in luxury over the last 1 or 2 years is in products. Services are catching up in assets, but products was growing more than 35%. So luxury is a sweet spot to some extent, but it's getting also more and more crowded, and I think the watch guys are the ones who are pushing the hardest. We automotive guys are a smaller circle, and of course then furnishing, housing, there's lots of stuff going on. But we see changes in attitude. Luxury beyond metros. So the standard ABC, go to the metros, you will catch the customers, that's passé. You have to go elsewhere. I think we see awareness, increasing branding, definitely is very important. How do you get your share of voice and your attention? And I think to sell a car through an advertisement is the most stupidest thing you can do. Because the best thing you can do with a car is you put it on the racetrack and you burn rubber. That's where the emotions are. I don't know how you do it with your furniture, but I would have some good ideas for off-breaker. Catch the youngsters, I think very important. We're very active on Facebook, and I think social media is very important today. How do you get your brand across to break through the clutter of media space? India is one of the few markets in the world where media space is getting more expensive as we speak. In most other markets, print media is getting less expensive because you have already the conversion. So you need to break through the clutter and say, why pay expensive money for print AdWords? How can I get closer to the customer more easily? So we looked at the criteria, and the gray line is actually international, and the red line is India. And what we heard this morning is price, and that is confirmed by our research. Punjabis, you can sell them everything you want. At the end of the day, they say, what's your deal? And I learned one, you also made a humoristic note, I learned one sentence from the Vijay store. Customer is king, and king never asked for a bargain. So when you ask me for discount, no discounts at our end. But what we see, design is getting more and more important, and also what we see in the luxury space, Indians are now ready and willing to pay and also appreciate quality.